You know, this next subject usually leads to comments of me being an asshole. I don't view myself as an asshole. I'm just the only person with the balls to say what everybody else is thinking. However, if your perception of me is that I'm an asshole, well, at least I still put the shopping cart back where the shopping cart belongs after I'm done with it, you piece of shit. Welcome back to UnWoKeN. Speaking of pieces of shit, aka the woke left, Demi Lovato, in a recent interview with E! News, The Rundown, my fans should know that I do not call them aliens, Lovato said, because alien is a derogatory term for anything, even extraterrestrials, which is why I call them ETs. Ain't that cute? You know, back to the point where people ask me all the time, Scott, what's the harm? Why is it such a big deal to call somebody by their preferred pronouns? Why does it matter? It matters simply for the fact, and listen up, all of you who have taken time out of your day to learn people's preferred pronouns and stick up for them, these are the type of people you are listening to. Let that sink in, that you're listening to people like Demi Lovato about people's preferred pronouns. Here's my take on that. If you can't reach down your pants into your calzones and feel what's down in between your legs, and you're still confused about your gender, you got a mental problem. See that beautiful document right there? The U.S. Constitution? Your right to not be offended doesn't trump my right to freedom of speech. Listen to that again. Just because you're offended doesn't trump my right to freedom of speech. Now, I stated in a podcast, I think 2 episodes ago, that if somebody approached me and said, Scott, you know, I go by this preferred pronoun. This is what I go by. If you wouldn't mind calling me that, please. And they said, please. Look, I'd have no problem doing that if we were having an adult conversation. If we were having a debate about the subject, no, absolutely not. I'd never call you by your preferred pronouns because the moment I do, I'll lose the debate. You're either born a biological male or a biological female. And if I was going out to dinner, if I took all 6 of my godchildren out to dinner, and the server came up, and it was obviously a man, and I said, thanks, man, or thank you, sir. And he said, well, I'll go by they or them. I'm not calling you by they or them in front of my godchildren, ever. You know why? Because I'm not teaching them that that is normal. My kids, knock on wood, not until I'm married. Not anytime soon. My kids will never learn that drag queen story time is normal. Ever. Because it's not. My problem with this whole situation is, especially after the Demi Lovato scene, my problem with that is with a lot of you. And probably not the viewers because the majority of y'all believe the same way I am. But if you are a viewer who believes that people should have the right to be called by their preferred pronouns, let me tell you something. The path that we're on right now, whenever you have kids, their kids is kids, their kids is kids is kids, they're going to be learning in school. This gender pronoun bullshit is going to be indoctrinated into our educational system. Now ask yourself, would you really rather your kids learn about 72 different genders and the different pronouns that people go by over mathematics, science, economics, literature? Would you really rather them learn about the 72 different genders and their pronouns over the things that actually matter for us to advance as a society? If you're saying yes, I mean, come on. You must be really in the fields if you're saying yes. Because this shit right here should strike a nerve with you. that you've been listening to people like Demi Lovato tell you how to speak. That's exactly what it is. Telling you how to speak. This is pretty much the whole basis of why this show was started. To wake people up. Here's the thing about leftist extremists. They don't know when to stop. You give them a little leeway to alter your First Amendment right, your freedom of speech. You give them a little leeway, and they take off and fucking run with it. They run with it. That's what's happening here. Because about 50% of America probably has a notebook entitled Alien Pronouns. They're just waiting on Tweedle Dumbass to come out with the list. I seriously want you to think about that for a second. How much further are you willing to go to accommodate confused people's pronouns? Are you really going to teach this to your kids and normalize that? Are you really willing to do that? If you are, more power to you for sticking it out with dumbass people. Because I'll tell you one thing, like I said, knock on wood, not anytime soon. If my kids go to school with your kids and you allow your kid to choose their gender, my kid ain't calling your kid by their preferred gender. And your kid can go home crying to you every day. I'm not normalizing that. I refuse to. It confuses children. It should not be taught. We're turning the evolutionary clock backwards, is what we're doing. I think it's absurd. I think it's the most unintellectual thing that we've ever done as a society, besides Democrats. But even some Democrats are smart on this move. You got to stand up. You got to call shit out for what it is sometimes. A lot of times it's a fucking power grab. Remember that first episode I ever did that we stated? I said, we're letting weak pussies, individuals who live in their mama's basement who have never belonged to any group in their lives, we're letting these people dictate the way that we speak. And we should be ashamed for that. That being said, 0D, these blue light glasses, awesome. I wish some of y'all had it to where you could block out the blue shit that y'all listen to all the time. You know, generally, and I'm in a good mood, like always. Life is beautiful. Every day's a fucking beautiful day. I love it. But there's a time and place where sometimes you got to stand up and say, this shit ain't right. And I've been saying that since day one. I've told y'all many times, the moment you give in, these people keep going farther and further and further and further left. Until now, it's affecting the way that we run as a society. So what are you going to do? You're going to allow this shit to keep happening? You're going to allow your kids to be influenced by people like Demi Lovato? Are you going to allow that? If you are, you probably ain't watching this show. And I'm going to call this shit out every time. And I can give two fucks if you're offended or not. And I can give two fucks if I lose advertisements on this. Because I ain't standing for this crap. So with that being said, again, let me reiterate something. This is UnWoKeN. Fuck your feelings.